It is a football Friday, less than 2 weeks to the NFL draft. Appreciate you early streamers, those of you guys who jump in right at the top, which appreciate you all, but specifically you guys who get on early to join Mac and Mac, John McMullen and Jody McDonald here to talk Eagles football for the next 2 hours. Yeah, we're mocking our life away, looking for a sunny day. That's all we can do leading up to the draft. And we're going to give this another shot. Matt Manicherian, who has been on with us in previous years, interesting guy to have on leading up to the draft because his company, Sports Info Systems, tries to marry the analytics with the actual production on the field and the scouting eye. Gives it a little bit of a different look. So Matt was supposed to join us on Wednesday. Some miscommunications on the time. I just texted him. He said he's got his link. He should be joining us in less than 20 minutes. So that should be fun. And then a little later, Rob Motti, our pal from the Associated Press, formerly here in Philadelphia and now National Associated Press guy's going to jump in. We haven't had Motti in over a month, which we don't usually let that happen. We try and get him up every 2 or 3 weeks because he's just that good. So we've got 2 good guests coming your way. So you want to say streamed in for the next 2 hours for the Mac and Mac guys. All right, Johnny Mac, whose mock did you check out yesterday? I'm sure you saw 8, 10, 12, 22 mock drafts. Was there anyone that you specifically went looking for, or when you saw it, you said, ooh, that's either interesting because I hadn't thought of it, or it makes some sense, or that's just completely friggin' ridiculous?
Well, I'm going to surprise you. I saw exactly 0.
No mocks. You didn't see one new mock yesterday.
Not one mock yesterday. And, you know, if it doesn't come across.
How can you not doing what you're doing?
Because I don't like to be bettered by other people's
I get that. I get that.
Yeah, I don't like that. So if something crosses my timeline on social media or something, I might click on it if I notice it. But I don't go looking for them. You know, when you get to the last week of the draft, I'll check out certain people. So I'll check out Peter's, for instance, Peter King, because Peter's so plugged in with certain organizations. You know, to me, he's valuable. But yeah, I don't go looking for mock drafts. I'm the opposite. I run the other way.
I do. I got to admit, guilty as charged. And I'm old enough, and I think you're damn close to me. So you're close to old enough to remember a time when it was Mel Kiper and Paul Zimmerman from Sports Illustrated. You're the SI guy on this show, but Paul Zimmerman was many years ago. He was the main guy before Peter King was the main guy for Sports Illustrated. Peter, of course, now since moved on to NBC, but that was about it. And our lads, I remember our lads was early in the mock game. So you had like 3 guys before Todd McShay ever arrived at ESPN and the 97 other media outlets that now have 2 or 3 guys doing mocks leading up to the draft. They used to be like 3 guys. You take it back to the 90s, there were like 3 guys. And you had to have their information because, if Mel Kiper says so, it could really happen. Yeah. Until the Colts general manager called him out on TV and said that guy has no idea what the hell he's talking about. Now you have hundreds, and I mean hundreds, to choose from. And yeah, I got to admit, I check them all, and I do take them through my own mental filter and say,
I'm going to say I checked Eric's yesterday, Eric Edholm, because he was on the show so early. I checked out his. I forgot about that early.
So you did. But we talked to Eric, so we had a clue as to what was already in Eric's mock draft, but he does a good job for the NFL.com these days. So yeah, we're going to have guys over the next 2 weeks leading up to the draft. Guys who put out mocks, guys who have inside info, guys who are well opinionated and the like. And I got to ask you this, John. You said you didn't check out many. I did yesterday. What I'm seeing, and I'm almost kind of surprised by this, is that there are, I don't want to say a lot, but enough people that think that Jalen Carter is going to end up as a Philadelphia Eagle. 1 or 2 had the Eagles actually trading up a spot or 2 to get him, and the rest had him falling down to the Eagles at number 10. I know you've said it'd be the easiest pick that Howie Roseman has made since he's become the general manager. If he passes all the Eagles' security work that they put into him ahead of time, which I understand your point of view, and I think you're dead on right. But what's going to make the Eagles be the first team? Because there's going to be, after you get past whoever takes a quarterback in the first however many picks, 9 picks before the Eagles come up at 10, if they stay at 10, what's going to be the difference that the Eagles will say, all right, yeah, this is not a big enough risk for us to be able to pass on the talent, and make the other teams who are drafting between the quarterback picks and the Eagles say, yeah, we can't take a chance on this guy, because I don't think anyone doubts the fact that his talent says he should be a top 1, 2, 3.
The first reason I would give you is that nobody has more job security than Howie Roseman.
That's true. Good
So
point.
a lot of GMs can't do certain things that Howie can do. And, that's a luxury. And Howie, was asked that by our buddy Jimmy Kempski a while ago. And he claimed he doesn't think about it that way, but it is that way. And there are GMs in this league, I always say, have to GM for their job. So they can't think long term. They can't think about taking chances. They got to win right now. They got to do this. They got to do that. And it makes their job more difficult. And it's like you're on a hamster wheel. And, until organizations figure out that structure is better than the opposite and keep changing people, you're going to have hiccups. So if you got to be, as an owner, you got to be confident in yourself that you hired the right guy and give that guy an opportunity. And that means more than 1 or 2 years. And that means even if he misses on a top 10 pick, if there's consistent misses, sure, you have to go in a different direction, but there's too much upheaval. And the NFL even tried to help these teams and, had a symposium saying, you probably shouldn't fire these coaches so quickly, fire these GMs so quickly. But, it's incredible.
When was that? How did I not know about
Oh,
that?
yeah,
When did that take place?
it was over the past year. I'll look it up. Yeah, they had a symposium, sort of, they do this stuff all the time. Howie Roseman talked to the owners at the owners meetings about the Eagles and how they do things. These kind of things happen all the time, but so many teams, it's so difficult because it's such a public facing industry, and you get criticism like our show and everybody else's show, and you get this incredible criticism in the moment. And it's so difficult to be patient because everybody wants, results now, even more so probably with players like young quarterbacks. They're so impatient with young quarterbacks. It's really difficult to stay the course. And Jeffrey Lurie, there are numerous times people have called for Howie Roseman's job.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people, when he came back, didn't want him back. There's a lot of people who won't admit it now, but after the Super Bowl rise and then the decline, they wanted him out. No, keep Doug, fire Howie, fire them both, that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
And Jeffrey Lurie, how many GMs in this league do you know? I'm sure there's one, but I can't think of one offhand. Some in the old days when guys were around, but in the modern environment, how many GMs do you know that get to hire 3 different head coaches, in that process? I mean, it just doesn't work that way in this league. And, even though people look at Philadelphia and they hire their coaches, they hire their front office people, they're missing the biggest point of all, and that's the continuity. At sort of, obviously, you're going to have continuity at ownership, and that is either you have a good owner, you have a bad owner. Daniel Snyder. Hopefully, Washington's finally turning the corner. There's not much you can do if you have a bad owner. You're always going to have continuity at ownership, but people should look at continuity more when it comes to GMs and guys running the team.
Even more so than having fired 3 coaches. How many GMs had the big chair, gave up the big chair,
Oh, never
sat in
happened.
absentia for a year, and then came back and recaptured the big chair? That just doesn't happen. So that tells you the relationship between Jeff Lurie and Howie Roseman. So let me ask you this. This pick, Howie Roseman, they're sitting there on draft night. We know Jeff Lurie will be in the room, and I gotta believe they'll have the conversation ahead of time. They're not going to have it while Team 8 is on the clock and the
No.
Eagles are sitting there at 10. So Howie will have gone to Jeff Lurie in advance and said, listen, if circumstances play themselves out beyond our control, but sure enough, we're sitting there in the draft and we've got a chance to draft Jalen Carter. How big a pitch does Howie have to make? Does he just say, listen, if this kid comes down, we'd like to take him? Or does he have to sell Jeff Lurie on it? Because I know, and everybody knows they're not taking Jalen Carter without Jeff Lurie putting some kind of stamp of approval on it. How much of it has to be a sales job? How much of it has to be just, here's what I believe? How much of it is Howie saying, listen, I'm the GM, I'm making this pick. I don't think that's the case. I think Howie's smarter than that. But how much of this is going to be having to get the stamp of approval from Jeff Lurie and him being on board with it and not questioning Howie with the, well, hey, it's your pick, you do what you want, but know full well we are under scrutiny by taking this young man. How's that conversation go between Howie and Lurie?
Yeah, I think it's as simple as it gets. I think it's Dom DeSandro says there's no major issues. We want to take the kid if he's there, yes or no. I think it's that simple. I don't think there's any sale job. I don't think there's anything of that nature.
He's going to put it on Dom?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a little harsh, Howie. He passed the buck there. Dom did all his work. He gave him the thumbs up, so we're going to take him if he's there. Wow.
You don't know how close Dom is to Jeffrey Lurie. I mean, people don't realize how important Dom is to that organization and how high up Dom is in that organization. Yeah, I mean, it's his job to do all the background checks and all, just like the medical people. I mean, if you have a medical issue, you're not going to go to Howie and say, oh, use Jay Ajayi as an example. He's going to last 3 or 4 years. Oh, thanks, Howie. What the hell do you know about degenerative knee conditions? No, you ask the doctor, and the doctors give you the information. Same thing with the background checks. Howie doesn't know state police and FBI agents, and that's Dom's job. And he's the one who does all that work. And Jeffrey Lurie trusts him. Howie trusts him. And, if they recommend to Jeffrey Lurie, and here's the thing where Howie has an advantage. If they say, yeah, the kid's fine, we should keep him on the board, he's going to say, fine. He's proven in the past he'll give people second chances. He's, very high profile situations. If they go the opposite direction, say, no, there's a lot of issues going on with this kid, they'll take him off. Jeffrey will listen to Dom and Howie in that situation. And if they want him, they'll get him if he's at 10. That's why people like Adam Schefter are so confident that the floor is 10. And forget about Adam, Drew Rosenhaus. That's why he's so confident and say, you don't have to go visit other teams. Don't worry about it. You're not balling out at 10. It's kind of the reason why.
The question is, will he get to 10? That's a question we'll put to our first guest. That and many others, because he does a great job mixing analytics with a scouting eye and analyzing the NFL draft. Coming up next, Matt Manicherian from Sports Info Systems going to join us here on Birds 365.